Hello and welcome to My Disney Brain. This is Kelly, and today is May the 7th. I hope everyone is doing well. Thanks for joining us. We are going to kind of jump in and do a podcast today. We just felt like doing one, honestly. This is going to be the second one this week, so we're pumping out some content here. I have my daughter Imani with me in the studio today, and Imani also has a podcast of her own, so we're just kind of combining efforts. And what we're going to talk about today has to do with both Disney, which is, of course, part of our core podcast, My Disney Brain, and then we're going to be talking specifically about traveling, how we travel to the parks. So we got two options. We've got air, and we've got via vehicle, car. And so her podcast has to do with travel. So I'm going to let her in a little while talk about what her podcast is about and tell you guys where you can find her on podcast locations as well as YouTube. And yeah, we'll do that. But before we get going, as always, I would like to thank those who continue to come back and listen to our podcast week after week. We really do appreciate it. And those of you who are first timers, welcome aboard, and thanks for sharing a little bit of time with us today as we talk about Walt Disney World. Specifically today, we're going to be talking about how we prepare and how we travel to the parks. Now, before we get started, as always, please check to make sure you're subscribed to all of our social media platforms. That's Facebook and Instagram, and we do have a Twitter. We don't use it as much, but also our website, which is most important, which is mydisneybrain.com. So mydisneybrain.com, you can subscribe there. All right, so guys, let's just jump into it. So Imani, the name of your podcast,
Yes.
The name of your podcast is Here, There, Anywhere.
Mm-hmm. It is. You can search us via Apple Podcasts. We are on Apple Podcasts and Spotify, as well as Buzzsprout. Type in HT Anywhere. Again, that's HT Anywhere podcast, and you will find us there. And honestly, we talk about an array of things. This is our first season with our podcast. We're really excited about it. But essentially, we are giving you some gems, our firsthand experience gems on how to travel and how to make it work for you, whether it is being cost efficient or maximizing your time or just finding new things to do while you're on vacation that you probably would have never thought about before. So we're kind of general, but we're in the business of making life easier for you while you're on vacation, because that is the point.
What are some of the titles that you guys have done already? Because I know you've been all over the place, from Europe to Costa Rica,
Yes.
and in between. So what are some of the things that you guys have already talked about?
Well, on the podcast, we've talked about how to pick the best all-inclusive for you, some tips on how to choose great off-site tours for people who don't know how to relax like me while you're on vacation. We've talked about some more important things that I'm sure a lot of people are curious about, which is traveling now and leading into post-COVID-19. Today, we actually dropped a podcast about how to get the most out of 24 hours anywhere. So if you had, 24 hours to go anywhere in the world, or you wanted to do an extravagant day trip, how to maximize that time. So those are just some of the things that we've discussed thus far with the podcast. Like I said, it is new, but we are on Instagram. We do have a plethora of videos on YouTube focused primarily on hotel reviews and tours. And all of that is all under HT Anywhere. So you can look us up on YouTube, Instagram, under HT Anywhere, TripAdvisor, likewise. And we do have a website, htanywhere.com.
So htanywhere.com.
Yes.
So guys, check that out, and we're going to jump into today's topic. Again, we've not really done this on My Disney Brain before. I don't think we have. We've obviously given numerous or a number of podcasts on advice on how to plan, and things to do once we get to the parks, but we've never talked specifically about how to travel to the parks in Disney fashion. I'm going to kind of go over some things that I've done over the years with my family and how we prepared, how we've been successful in getting to and fro and safely, of course, and efficiently. And what I'm going to call Disney fashion, and you'll see what that means in a little while. So I'm going to take the approach from the ground, meaning I'm going to tell you how we travel to the parks. We live in Atlanta, right outside of Atlanta, so driving to Orlando is 6.5 hours if I want to stay ticket free. I could make it in 6 hours, but once you cross the Florida line, it's Russian roulette. So I try to stick, within the guidelines of the speed limit. So it's 6.5 hours, and I know exactly where we need to stop in terms of gas and refuel. I've done this so many times, I know it like the back of my hand. So that's what I'm going to share with you today. And then Imani's going to take the approach from air travel, how to prep and how to get to and fro through these airports into MCO, Orlando International, and even how to get from there to your designated resort or hotel. So sit back and relax, and I think you will learn something. So how do you want to start? You want to start with the car, or you want to start with air?
We can start in the air. I feel like that's primarily how a lot of people end up in Orlando.
Well, listen, I talk to a lot of people, and you'd be surprised. Yeah. I actually talked to a lady earlier this year. She is on a professional side. She's helping me with some customs brokerage and different things. But anyway, she lives in Buffalo.
Oh, my God.
Buffalo, New York.
And she drives to Florida?
And she drives to Florida. Wow. She says her husband is not a problem. He'll get in the car.
Wow.
And everybody else is knocked out. And
I'd have to be
a
sedated.
day and a half there. Well, that's what I said. I said that's quite a bit of dedication. But people drive long distances to the park. I know that for sure, because here's what you got to think about. The cost to go to Walt Disney World is already massive. Yeah. And so the one way you can offset some of your expenditures is through driving. Yeah. Because we're going to get more into this when I get into mine, but if you drive there and you got a family and you don't want to be just on the Disney Transit, that means you got to rent a car. Yeah. That's an additional cost. So people trying to avoid that. I don't necessarily love driving all the time, but what I do love is when I'm somewhere I want to be, and then all of a sudden I want to go somewhere. All I got to do is just get my keys and get my car and go. Yeah. Now, as well as I do, we've driven to New York, we've driven to Houston. Those are not short distances. Nope. But once you catch your breath, once you get to where you're going, and we're usually there for quite a bit of time, so it's not like we're going and turning around. So if we want to go to the grocery store, or if we want to go grab something to eat, we're not dependent upon a rental car or someone taking us and things like that. But anyway, I don't know if there's a way to tell. You could Google it, of course, and I don't know what Google would say, but I would think there's as many. Well, here's my hypothesis. I think there's more people flying because there's so many international people coming. Yeah. That's one reason. If we were looking at domestic numbers, I'll bet you it's probably 50-50. Probably. But because there's so many international people coming to Walt Disney World, in general, that the numbers got to be, favoring the air. So let's start off with the air. Okay. Well, I guess kind of to start from the beginning, packing. Usually I know a lot of people who come to Disney World come with their families, meaning they have at least one child coming with them. So I'm pretty sure packing in and of itself can be a little overwhelming when you're packing for small humans. Me, myself, I don't have any children, so I don't know what that's like packing for little people. But I do like to be very prepared, and honestly, I have my bags and stuff packed a week in advance. So I just feel like the sooner everything is in a bag and designated in its own spot, everything is good. I'm also the type of traveler who likes to catch the first flight out.
So I can get up very early in the morning and get to the airport and just be adrenaline rushing until I get on the plane, and then I'll fall asleep. Now, I know that's not the case. Like I said, a lot of times there are families who have smaller children that they're traveling with. So I would recommend not the first flight out if you can avoid it, but maybe that second or third, just because it's not as crowded. And you still have like most of your day once you get there to relax. And then once you've refueled and rejuvenated, if you want to go to Disney Springs, you still got the rest of the day. If you want to, do whatever you can. Now, being in the airport, especially since you mentioned a lot of the time, people that are flying in are coming in from other countries.
Yep.
I have had the privilege of helping people book their vacations with Disney. I've had that privilege in work before. And, for those who don't know, you can book everything from your flight to your hotel and your travel and all of that with Disney, one-stop shop. You can do that. I would just ask you, for the love of your own sake of mind and vacation, please make sure that all of your children's passports are valid. I have had customers who their children's passports were expired and their vacations were like in 48 hours. Don't do that.
Yeah.
Make sure everyone's passport is valid. Make sure everybody has the right IDs. So like even if you're traveling domestically, make sure everybody has the right identification on them, bags are packed, and everybody is on one accord.
Well, that kind of baffles me because we've been out of the country. And I spend a significant amount of time getting our paperwork and stuff together. That's usually the first thing.
Mm-hmm. You would think so, right?
I wouldn't book the trip if I wasn't sure, because I don't know how it is in other countries, but in the U.S., there's a significant price difference in trying to expedite a passport renewal versus not, and going through the regular process. There's a cost either way, but it's significantly higher if you're trying to expedite it. And even at that, there's no concrete confirmation that you're going to get it
in enough time
for your trip. Because if you're expediting, that usually means you need it probably within 7 days
hours,
or less. And so what is the government going to do? They're simply going to take your money and send it whenever it's done.
Yeah.
And if it's 52 hours or 72 hours, then it's on you. So that seems to be, or it should be, a no-brainer. But obviously the reason you bring it up is because people have done it.
It's happened on a number of occasions, unfortunately. Also, personal preference, but I think it makes for a great convenience factor. If you're staying at Disney less than 4 days, then I would just try and pack everything in a carry-on. I don't like checking my bag. I just don't. But also, if you can avoid having to wait at the luggage train thing, and you can get to where you're going, just pack everything in a carry-on, designate everyone their own book bag, and as soon as you get off the plane, you can just go to wherever you're going. Now, if you are staying longer than 4 days, and if you're staying on property, then it doesn't matter. That's up to you, because then if you're taking the My Magical Express bus to your stop, they'll handle your luggage, so you don't even have to worry about it.
You don't have to worry about it that way. But if you're not staying on property, then you got to do it yourself.
You have to do it yourself.
And the game, of course, with Disney is always you want to minimize the number of lines you have to stand in, and you want to minimize the length of the line, meaning the time you're spending in that line.
Yep.
So that starts at the airport.
Yes.
So if you don't have to stand at baggage claim, don't stand at baggage claim. Mm-hmm. Just make it easy for yourself.
I do hear, speaking of lines, and the episode is not out yet, but I'm actually going to be doing an episode in regards to the pros and cons of like TSA versus pre-check versus global entry. Mm-hmm. I know a lot of people that travel internationally frequently, they do use global entry. I've been contemplating whether or not I'm going to use it, but if you have things like TSA pre-check or clear, especially if you're traveling with kids, then that's probably something that you would want to either look into or utilize, because you can plan as much as you want to, but kids are unpredictable. So in the event that you need to hurry up and get to your gate, then those are some great things to have in your back pocket. Yeah,
we have TSA pre-check. And when I was traveling quite a bit in Atlanta, I'll be honest with you, unless it is a slew of people at the airport, which a lot of times there is, it seems like when I first got my TSA pre-check, just I'm going to be on my soapbox for 1 second. When I first got TSA pre-check, I thought, oh, man, this is great. It's not really easy to get. You got to go through this application process. You got to go into the airport, fill all this stuff out, and all this other jazz. You got to pay for it and then wait on it. So it wasn't a very easy thing to do. But then once you do get it, you say, okay, this is great. The first time I went down to use TSA pre-check, literally the line was as long as the other line.
And they have operating hours. TSA pre-check has operating hours. Oh, yes, they do.
Well, the thing is, I didn't really appreciate it until I was at another airport. See, in Atlanta, because Atlanta is this humongo airport, the busiest in the world, sometimes it doesn't really pay
register until you leave.
Yeah. if you're coming back from, I don't know, Chicago or Norfolk or somewhere I shouldn't say Chicago.
Anywhere
relatively
else.
big. Anywhere else, it seems like it's more of a benefit.
Yeah.
But in Orlando, I'm trying to think, like when I go to D.C. and D.C.'s really busy, I always get in quicker than anybody else.
Yeah.
And you would think like in Washington at Reagan, it's going to be pretty packed. But there's lines, but TSA pre-check and clear, bam, bam, bam. You get in and you can out.
So I recommend if you guys have that, then to definitely utilize it. Also, for all of my people traveling.
Well, hold on for 1 second. How many are you giving? We're supposed to be giving 5. Are you running on to?
I did not know there was a number.
So
I'm giving all the people everything they need to know to fly.
Well, I was going to break them up by, like you're supposed to give your first tip, and then I was going to give my tip, and then come back.
Well, it's now that we're here. I'm almost done, I promise.
Yeah.
Okay, so bring old school headphones, especially if you got kids. And what I mean is like not your new, like the jack on your headphones.
Or
make sure it's like no, they don't use the Bluetooth on the airplanes.
Or that's what I said. Don't think your Bluetooth is going to be cool. You're not going to be able to use it.
It's not going to work.
It's not going to work.
Make sure you bring those because the TVs, they actually have their own Disney section for movies. Mm-hmm. So that's like cool for your kids to like build anticipation. Oh, what Disney movie you want to watch on your way to Disney World? So make sure you have those headphones with you in the event that they are selling those headphones and not just giving them out whatever airline you're on. And lastly, this is my last one. Mm-hmm. When you're returning home, meaning when you are leaving Orlando, you've had your vacation, you've had a great time, and it's time to leave, and you're in MCO, I don't care what time your flight leaves. Get there like 3 hours early. I have gone through MCO a number of times, and the line in TSA never fails to be terrible. It's so bad. Just like we said, you never appreciate the Atlanta airport until you're somewhere else. And I've never appreciated it more than when I lived in Orlando and had to go out of MCO. I was like, oh my God, this is garbage. So for the sake of your sanity, get there as early as possible to get through that TSA line.
I think they're getting better because the airport in Orlando is expanding. And I'm only hypothesizing. I could be completely wrong. But I remember years ago when I would fly into Orlando, and then I remember in recent months and years going to Orlando, the airport seems bigger. They seem to have more people working, and it seems to be a little bit better. I mean, listen, according to what the report that I saw, was it last year, 60 some odd million people are coming through MCO, to go to Disney World every year, something crazy like that.
Yeah, I'm not surprised.
So I'm surprised that they haven't expanded earlier.
Yeah, I'm surprised that Hartsville and MCO are not like neck and neck because so many people are at that airport at one time.
Yeah.
And it's never
Atlanta
really...
is you got to think Atlanta is a center for connections too.
Yeah.
And people are coming here not necessarily going into the city. They're coming in to go somewhere else. Orlando, nobody's connecting in Orlando. Either people are going home or they're going to the parks. Or they're leaving, of course, to go somewhere. And I could be wrong. I don't think I'm pretty sure that nobody's connecting in Orlando. Who connects in Orlando? That doesn't even sound right.
Yeah, I don't know.
And I don't think there's a major airline based out of Orlando that I know of.
I want to say Southwest.
Southwest is in Birmingham, I thought.
I think they're in Orlando too.
Are they in Orlando too?
I think so.
Okay. Well, we should have
I
checked
could
that
be
out.
wrong.
I think their base is Birmingham. No, you know what? It's not. It's neither. I read a report. It's somewhere in Texas. I want to say it's Austin.
Dallas?
No, it's not Dallas. I was reading something about Dallas Cowboys, and the person who owns the Southwest, I can't even remember the article. I just remember that the person who started Southwest was a Texan. And I want to say, I'm going to have to look it up and I'll put it on Facebook page because it's going to bug me until I do. But I want to say it's Texas, somewhere in Texas.
Sounds
So, okay. So, what about when the folks get to the airport?
Yes.
What then?
Like coming?
Right.
Coming to
They're
Orlando?
coming to Orlando. Let's do off property first. They're staying
Okay.
off property.
Well, if you're staying off property and you obviously did not drive, you go, you get your luggage. Once you come off your plane and you are leaving your gate, if you did decide to check your luggage, what you're going to have to do is follow the exit signs to go out. And the luggage trains are actually on the floor below where you're going to come out at. So you're going to have to go downstairs and then get your luggage, which will then be where you go out if you're getting picked up. Your ride sharing, they have their own designated area for ride sharing. And then, of course, if you want to rent a car, you have your car rental services. So just definitely pay attention to the signs in MCO, because once you, if you're standing in the middle of MCO, it's like standing in a really big circle with a bunch of different paths to go down. So make sure you read all the signs and know that where you come out is not where you're going to leave. You're going to have to go downstairs. That's where your pickup and stuff is, your luggage.
Yeah.
And then anywhere else, because there's actually 2 floors below the main floor. So luggage and then pickup and drop off. And then I want to say the last floor, the very lowest floor, is where your ride shares, your Ubers, your Lyfts and stuff. That's where you go to pick those up.
Yeah, every airport is obviously different, and they, depending on how, listen, I see people come to Atlanta sometime, and we got family members that, not necessarily well-traveled, and you almost cringe when they have to come to Atlanta because you're like, oh,
You hope
Lord.
they don't get lost. But I feel like Hartsville has the best signage.
Well, they do, but if you don't know where you're going and there's so many people, then, listen, I have been distracted trying to get home from a trip, and I end up instead of going toward baggage claim, coming home,
you go towards International.
I'm going to another freaking terminal. I'm like, oh, my God.
I've done that one time. I was like,
and it's
man.
geez Louise. So, and I live here, and I know better. So it's just that you've got to really be paying attention to where you are, because going down the wrong escalator is going to put you on the wrong train, period. It's going to put you on the wrong train. And you can't look back up the escalator because they're 100 feet tall and be like, oh, what did that sign say? You're going to be like, well, I'm down here now. I might as well get on this train. And once they make the announcement that you're going further away from baggage claim versus to baggage claim, you're like, God, almighty. So anyway, you just have to be cognizant. And see, in Orlando, they have a train from the gates to the terminal.
Yeah.
So there's that. You have to make sure okay, so that's one piece of, you have to get from the terminal to the gates, or from the gates to the terminal.
From the gates to, okay, well, if you're arriving, you got to get from the gates to the terminal, which is the train.
Yeah.
Then once you get on the train takes you to the main area where your TSA and your luggage and all of that, where you're leaving. Well,
that's the terminal.
Yeah. No, you have to get on the train and then you get there.
Right. If you arrive at the gates.
Yes.
You walk up to catch the train.
Yes.
To go up to the terminal.
Yes.
And that's where your baggage claim and
But there's multiple trains in MCO. That's the thing about it.
I thought there was only one. Mm-mm. Well, I mean, they all take you up to the terminal, though, don't they?
Oh, yeah. They all take you there. But depending on where your gate is.
Right. Is how you're going to come out in the terminal. Mm-hmm. And so she's right. So you have to go downstairs and look for your bags and all that kind of jazz. The thing that probably is most problematic is once you do locate your bags, is trying to figure out where your rental car place is.
Yeah.
Because it's not as simplistic as one would think. It's not inside the building. You have to actually go outside of the building over into the parking lot area. Mm-hmm. If they haven't moved it,
not to my knowledge,
to get to your rental. And that's where you return it. So like she's saying, you just got to really be cognizant of the signage. Now, how much easier though is it if you're staying on property and you're doing?
Oh, it's so easy. It's so easy. If you're staying on property and you book your whole vacation and you decide, oh, I want to do Magical Express, which you can book during the time that you are booking your hotel stays and everything else. What they'll do is they'll send you these luggage tags in the mail. They're like bright yellow. If they haven't changed the color, like these bright yellow magic luggage tags in the mail for however many bags that you have, and just make sure that those tags are on there. When you go to the airport, check your bag, get on the plane. Then when you get there, you come off. You don't even have to worry about going to baggage claim.
You just go straight to
Magical Express. There's a desk there, just in case, things happen and we have to send people to that desk sometimes. It's like a help desk. But you go to the desk, you let them know, hey, we're here, we're checking in. And if you pre-ordered your Magic Band, or if you already have your confirmation number to your hotel or your vacation in general, you just provide them that information. They scan it, and that's how they know where you're going. That's how they know how many bags you have, which bags are yours. So that way, once you get on the bus, by the time you get to your hotel and you've checked in, your luggage and stuff is already in your room. And so just as long as you have, like I said, either you have to have your confirmation number and or your Magic Band, in addition to those yellow tags. And those three things are going to make leaving the airport seamless because you don't have to worry about anything.
Yeah, I think that's the biggest selling point if I'm flying and staying on property. That's it's kind of like when you're cruising, once you turn your bags in, they just end up in your stateroom. You can just go off to the bar or wherever you're going to go. Yeah, that's pretty awesome. But let me ask you a question. If you're staying on property, do you automatically get the Magical Express included as transportation? Is that extra?
It's not extra. You don't have to pay for it, but you do have to request it when you make your reservation.
So we shouldn't assume.
Right. Don't assume that you will automatically get the Magical Express, because although it is complimentary, you have to notify them that that's what you want so they know to send you those luggage tags, because you'll get them in the mail.
And without those luggage tags, then you're kind of out of luck.
You're not actually. You're out of luck if you don't request it, because at least if you request it, it shows in your reservation that, hey, they're supposed to be on the Magical Express. Right. That's why, I've had plenty of times where customers will call me and say, hey, I never got my luggage tags. What am I supposed to do? I know I requested for this to happen. So I'll look in their reservation. I'll see, yep, they did request for them to get luggage tags, but they didn't get them yet. Maybe they requested it, outside of the time frame in which the tags were supposed to get there.
Right.
That's fine. Now, usually what they'll tell you to do is put some sort of identifier, a very specific identifier on your bags. And so once you come off the plane, you'll go to that desk that I was talking about, the Magical Express desk, and you tell them, hey, this is the situation. These are the bags I have, but this is how you can identify them. And they'll say, okay, what's your confirmation number? Oh, okay, can I scan your Magic Band? Just to confirm that you're supposed to be on the bus. And they'll keep your information, and they'll make a note, say, hey, okay, the bags that have the purple triangles on them need to be on this bus. They need to go to All-Star. They need to go to Polynesian. And they'll take it from there. But if you don't request to have the Magical Express, you cannot get on it. You cannot do it the day of that you get there. You can't.
She's gonna be Ubering over there,
right? But as long as you have made the request and it shows up in your reservation, then you can get on it, and it's fine. Now, it's not very common that people won't get their luggage tags, but it has happened, and it does happen. So in the event, that's what we've been advised to tell people to do.
Okay, cool beans. All right, well, I think that's a pretty good summary from the air side. So we have been going to the parks for years, and I've sort of streamlined this process in terms of driving because it's 5 of us, me and my wife, and we have 3 kids. So we've always found it, from a distance standpoint and a monetary standpoint, more advantageous for us to just simply drive. And plus, we're usually there for a little while, so we like to be able to go to Disney Springs and go off property. Sometimes we'll even go over to Universal Walk and these sorts of things outside of the Disney transportation loop. And it's always easier for us to drive. So I've always driven when it was all of us. Now, my wife and I have gone before and we've flown, but when it's all 5 of us, we usually drive. So what I'm going to do is kind of cover some tips and how I plan it out and how I make sure that we get there and back in one piece and we don't have any issues, any hangups, and we kind of Disney-fy it also.
Tip number 1, he always drives. No one else gets to sit behind the wheel.
Well, yeah.
Every time.
That's that. We have to do another podcast about how that's come to be, but that really is the case. So the first and most important thing are preparation for your vehicle and for your physical vehicle, your body. So you've got to prep both of these things. You can't. I see people doing things that I just think. I don't know what people think sometimes, but you can't run from pillar to post and then get up at 3-4 o'clock in the morning and drive safely 6.5, 7 hours somewhere. You've got to rest your body. You've got to rest your mind. Another podcast for that, but anyway. What I normally do is this. For the car, I usually always make sure I have our tires checked, engine checked, and I gas up the day before. Mm-hmm. So always get your tires rotated before you take a trip. Now, if you recently had your tires rotated within a week or two, there's no need to do it again. But most people don't really rotate their tires the way well, I shouldn't say that. A lot of guys do. Let me just say it this way. Just make sure if you haven't recently had your tires rotated, make sure that you've had your tires rotated. Mm-hmm. And what they'll do during the tire rotation is make sure that, in addition to the rotation, that your tires have the appropriate air pressure in it. That's important because that gives you the best ride, number one. But number two, you have a least likely chance of having some sort of blowout or an issue. Or if you do have something going on with your tires, somebody can identify it then instead of you getting on the road and then something happening. I just don't think people always think that something can happen to them until it does. So I hate to see people on the way to their vacations, they're having flat tires, having mechanical problems that could have been avoided. Mm. Especially you got little kids. Little kids don't understand engine lights and that kind of stuff. That's your job. Take care of that and be prepared to get your family, there in one piece. Now, the second thing that I would advise you do, and I want to make sure you heard me when I say get your gas the night before. That way you get up in the morning. We're 6.5 hours away. So we leave Conyers, which is right outside Atlanta. We usually leave at about 4 o'clock.
Yep.
Maybe 5. But anyway, it puts us there around noon. And what happens is most of the time, depending on where you're staying, you're not getting in your room until 4 o'clock anyway.
Yep.
But what you can do, like Imani was saying, you get into the city early, you can take advantage of a half day. You can go to Disney Springs, you can go eat, you can go shop, you can do a lot of things before 4 o'clock. Now, we stay off property most of the time. And where we stay, I make a request to have early access to the room. And 9 times out of 10, we're using our room by the time... Like I'm just breaking the city limits or something, and I'll call and say, "Hey, is my room ready?" They'll be like, "Yeah, Mr. Bennett is ready." Yep. Maybe once or twice we've gone to Disney Springs and eaten and waited, but for the most part, the room has been ready. All right. So packing. This is going to take some willpower, particularly if you have a small car, larger family. Or someone in your party likes to change clothes throughout the day for some reason. But packing your car doesn't have to be a jigsaw puzzle. You want to always do it at least the night before. I always do it the night before or the day before. And I would say small bags, like a carry-on type situation. If you're a family of 4 or 5 like us, you can't have a big suitcase.
Yeah, unless you're consolidating. Like Mommy and Nia will sometimes put their same
you're doing
their
a
stuff
2
in the
for
same
1.
bag. Yeah.
Yeah. And we have, just so I'm clear in terms of vehicle, we don't have a small vehicle. We have a van. We have a Toyota Sienna.
Yeah, and still be packed out.
Yeah, and so we can still be, sticking stuff underneath the console and trying to make sure we got everything in the car. You just have to be, pretty stringent there in terms of the size of bag that everyone has. Now, we've kind of got it down pat. Everybody has their own bag. It's pretty much a carry-on size. And like Imani was saying, sometimes my wife and my youngest daughter will consolidate their stuff, so their bag may be a little bigger. But for the most part, we don't really have any trouble packing. Now, the other thing I would say in terms of packing is I would limit one bag per inside the car, because now you're talking about having a whole bunch of stuff in the car. Now, one bag and one device. So whether that's your phone, your laptop, or whatever, you're limited to outlets as there is. And our car has a lot. I think we have, I don't know, 1, 2, 3, 4. Probably four 12-volt outlets in the car. And there are 5 of us at any given time. So you want to limit the number of charges and all that kind of stuff going on. You just don't want to, or at least I don't want a messy environment when I'm somewhere. My office, my bedroom, my closet, my car. I don't like a lot of stuff around me. I want it to be organized. So when we get to where we're going, we know what we have. If somebody drops something, we don't have to go on a scavenger hunt looking for it because there's so much stuff in the car. So you want to stay as organized as you can. Now, before you lay down, if you are the commander-in-chief, you've got to set a time that we're leaving. This ship is leaving at 4 a.m.
Yes, Lord.
The captain's going to be at the helm at 4 a.m. And for those passengers that are desirous of going to Walt Disney World, then you need to be in this vehicle and be firm with that time, because everybody wants to get there on time and have fun. But very few folks want to wake up early and just literally walk downstairs to get in the car. So that's also another podcast. Now, one of the things you can do to kind of generate some fun, particularly for little kids, and for me, because I'm a little kid, is just something like this. What if you passed out your magic bands like the day before? Mm-hmm. And man, how excited, just think how excited a little kid would be to know tomorrow I'm going to literally be able to use this. Well, maybe not tomorrow, but very soon. We're leaving tomorrow to go to a place where I can use this magic band. Mm-hmm. And maybe you're staying on property. Maybe they can use it the next day. You're not, just because you're not going to park doesn't mean they can't use it. But it would be so exciting to have that on your person as you're going to the parks, because we collect them each year we go. That's part of our souvenirs. We always buy new ones. And excuse me, it's always a fun thing to have that magic band on. It just makes the whole, your adventure is beginning, and it's official. So 3 other things. Number 3, I should say, is your snacks and entertainment. So this is where we're going to kind of get a chance to Disney-fy the deal. So for small kids, what I would say for you to do is this. If you like Netflix, and if you like Hulu and all this other kind of jazz, and of course Disney Plus, whatever you're going to want to watch or allow the kids to watch, go ahead and download it or save it to your device the day before, or start planning the week before. Just say, hey, you know what would be some cool things to watch on our way? What are some things we haven't watched? Go to Disney Plus, go ahead and download it now, because it's going to play easier on your device as opposed to you trying to stream it through your 4G or LTE on the way down the road. Because think about the number of counties and areas you're going through and the towers and all this other kind of stuff. You're not going to get consistent play. I mean, you're going to get okay stuff, but it's going to be really spotty. Yeah. So just go ahead and download it before you leave.
Because downloading takes forever.
Yeah, it could take forever. And little kids, just imagine the excitement that they can have watching Disney movies on the way to Disney World, which is what you guys used to do when you were really small. We used to have a VHS and
DVD player.
Yeah, portable DVD player. We used to have a VHS/TV on the console in one of my cars. So that was always a big deal for us. Now, from an adult standpoint, here's what I would suggest you do as well. Organize your movies hopefully they should correspond with whatever the kids are watching. But I don't know. Sometimes you're in the front, sometimes they're in the back. You guys can watch on your devices. But whatever movies you want to watch, also organize those. Now, the other thing for adults is your podcast. Go ahead and select the podcast that you want to listen to. Hint, hint, my Disney brain on the way to the parks, because you know you're going to get up-to-date information on what's going on at the parks. And maybe something recently happened that could help you when you get there. For example, hey guys, Pirates went down yesterday. They had an issue with the ride vehicles, and it's probably not going to be up today. That's some information for you to know. That could help reroute you if your plans were to go to Pirates first thing when you get there. So I've always listened to podcasts on my way to Disney because, one, it gets me in the mood, but two, it keeps me updated on any news-related, any park-related updates that maybe I missed that could impact my stay. So that's something to think about. Okay, so I mentioned before in terms of gassing up. So our Sienna is going to run all the way to Gainesville. Until I feel like, all right, this is where we need to get gas, because I know we're not getting all the way to Orlando, but Gainesville, which is an hour out, we can gas up there. Gainesville, as far as I know, I've never seen them close to the freeway. They could have them somewhere inland, but I don't see any Disney shops or anything like that. It would be cool if you're driving from another area. Let's say you're coming from Tampa, Tampa way, or, I'm thinking coming from like Texas or something. I'm trying to think of a route where you wouldn't have to come 75. At some point, you're going to have to get on 75, even if you come from Louisiana, Mississippi, Alabama, that lower ridge coming in the Panhandle. At some point, you're going to have to catch 75. But, by that time, we're all on 75, I would guess. So I do like Gainesville. There are a lot of neat little shops there. We like clean, safe areas to gas up, eat, and to use the restroom. And I assume, I assume everyone would like clean, safe areas. So we found the Publix off that exit. We found Chick-fil-A. We found BP. And so all those work to our benefit. We can make a stop for gas, a stop for a restroom and pick up snacks, and then we're back on the road within 30 minutes. I wouldn't spend more than, my thing is I would rather do it in like 15 to 20 minutes, but you can't rush the process of going to the restroom and ordering food, because that alone is going to take 15, 20 minutes, depending on how many people are there. And here's the other thing. By the time we get to Gainesville, it's usually about 10:30, 11 o'clock, like prime breakfast time.
Yeah.
And people are in Chick-fil-A, and it's like...
Well, that's not prime breakfast time, because for whatever reason, breakfast is over at 10:30. So it's like beginning of lunch, which makes me really sad.
It seems like a number of people are kind of in there when we're...
Yeah.
The parking lot's not empty, put it that way.
Oh, yeah, no, never at Chick-fil-A.
All right. So, but Chick-fil-A's off those exits, and so is Publix. But if you want to be extra jazzy, just try to locate like some neat restaurants or maybe some shops that we haven't seen that are souvenir related or Disney related, and maybe pick your area to stop closer to those shops.
You know what, Daddy? Usually, the closer you get to Orlando, stores like your Walmarts and stuff, they'll be selling Disney apparel and souvenirs and stuff in there. True. So if you find like a Walmart or Target, they may have that stuff that you're looking for. Yeah,
that's true. That's true. My favorite Walmart in all of Walmart world is in Kissimmee on Kings Highway. And I do this thing where I go to Walmart here where we live, and I just imagine I'm in the Walmart in Kissimmee. Because they have all types of T-shirts and mugs and all sorts of Disney stuff. You just really feel really good being there. So here's the last thing I'll tell you. So once you hit the city limits and you're arriving, and like I said, your room is, not going to be ready till at least 4, unless you get the early arrival. So let's just assume everybody's checking in at 4. And you're arriving early. Orlando's a really nice city. So you can take advantage of a lot of different views and a lot of different things to see in Orlando that may be not Disney, but worth seeing.
Yeah.
So I know this is a Disney podcast, but I'm going to give you two options that are not Disney and one that is, that I think you'd be really satisfied in seeing them while you're waiting to get into your resort. On the way to your hotel, there are such icons that you can see that you're like, man, I really got to get close. I got to take a picture. I've got to see what this thing is. And the one that you're going to see, unless, of course, you can't see, is Volcano Bay.
Yeah.
When you see Volcano Bay, it's such a spectacle that you're like, holy moly, is that a volcano in the middle of the highway? Like, it's humongous. It is humongous. And it's worth getting closer to try to take pictures or to see. And, of course, Volcano Bay is a Universal property. And it is fantastic if you get a chance to go. If you like water parks and things like that, you'll absolutely love it. I've been there. I think it's one of the most. It just was fantastic. I will tell you, I'm hypothesizing again, but I believe this is closer to the truth than not. One of the things that we experienced at Volcano Bay was something called virtual wait.
Oh,
there are no lines.
Wait in line. Yeah.
What you do is you have this little, they call it a taboo, but it's basically like a little wristwatch, or i.e. Magic Band.
Yeah.
And what you do is you go up to the rides that you want to go on. Let's say you can pick 3 or 4, and you scan your band, your taboo, and it puts you in line. And it'll tell you when it's time for you to actually go to the ride. With everything that's going on with this, social distancing and things like that, I think Disney is going to move more toward virtual lines than anything, because they have to now.
Yeah.
They have to, which is sort of a shame because they put so much time and effort and money into those queues. That people are not going to really be able to.
And fast passes will be like nothing.
Yeah. I don't know what they're going to do with fast passes and stuff like that now, but I'll bet you that they go toward virtual lines because, I mean, what else are they going to do? You can't depend on people to keep the correct
6 feet
distance.
away. Yeah.
That's unfortunate. So you'll have to gear that yourself. And fortunately, though, they already have a technology in place that's very close to this taboo. It's the Magic Band.
Yeah.
So they may not have to do a whole lot of rework there. They may just be able to reprogram and repurpose this thing and make it into a virtual system. But anyway, you'll see Volcano Bay. It is impossible not to see it. It is magnificent. You'll also, if you go down International Drive, you'll see Wonderworks. You'll see all sorts of entertainment on International Drive, eateries, different restaurants and hotels. It really is. I know Walt didn't like what happened in Disneyland with all these knockabout signs and different things on the way to Disneyland and all these shops that popped up. But I got to tell you, Universal Drive, or at least the area of Universal Drive that I'm thinking of, is really nice. And there's a lot of shops that I've been to, and I just basically saw them from driving by. There's Cuba Libre, which I absolutely love. There is the Blue Martini, also on International Drive. If you like, it is wonderful. If you like live music, the Blue Martini, I don't know where they get these folks from, but man, I'm telling you, I've never been dissatisfied going to the Blue Martini in terms of entertainment. The only time I was dissatisfied is like nobody's singing, like nobody's booked for that day or something. Anytime there's people there performing, it's been like top notch, absolutely top notch. And there are a number of other places on International Drive that I'm sure, and they're like little entertainment spots where you've got these, people getting these swings that swing them way up in the air. And they got these things now on international that swing you around. You know, take you all the way up in the air. And
the things
and
I'll never get on.
The international eye, you know, that big Ferris wheel. So there's a lot on International Drive that you will see. And if you're not in your hotel anyway, you're just hanging out, why not go and check it out? See what's going on there. Now, the other thing is outlets. We did a show dedicated to outlets or shopping and merchandise, rather. We also talked with Nicole from Shopping with Ray, who shops at outlets in Orlando, the Disney outlets, and she gets, you know, merchandise for folks. So shout out to Rachel, and hopefully, since, you know, things are kind of opening back up, her Facebook page and shop and everything will be kicking off very, very soon. So make sure you check out that episode. I think it was 2 or 3 episodes ago. So Shopping with Ray, in case you're searching. So you can go to the Disney outlets on Vineland or on International and check those things out. And it's always good to check out the outlets before you go into the parks, because the last thing you want to do
is spend a whole bunch of money on some stuff you could have got for half the price.
I'm telling you, please go back and listen to 2 episodes ago when we had Ray on, Rachel on, and she was talking about all the different things that are at the outlets and how much you can save by simply either ordering it through her or going there yourself before you go to the parks. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, I'm talking from T-shirts to mugs, coffee mugs, to those, she named so many things. What are those little light things that, you know, they put around their neck at night and that kind of stuff?
The light up lanyards.
You name it, they have the stuff there. But she mentioned something that was, oh my God, you just have to go back and listen to it, because I have it in my mind, but I'm going to call it the wrong thing. And then the last piece of advice I'm going to give you, since you're driving and you're there and you can, drive over to Disney Springs. Mm-hmm. This is how your vacation should start anyway. This is like the slow intro into all things Disney, particularly if you have not been to Disney Springs in a while. And I guess given the current situation, that will include all of us. Go to Disney Springs and just check it out. It's as if, listen, I love Magic Kingdom and the theme parks, but if someone dropped me off at Disney Springs for the day, I certainly could find enough to do to really be satisfied with that day. There's so much at Disney Springs: shopping, dining, entertainment. It really is a must-do. I'm taking that from the old Disney must-do videos that you see in the hotel that they don't play anymore. But that's it, guys. That's the driving piece for me. And you can Disneyfy this any way you like. I think having more Disney movie and podcasts and music in your vehicle really makes the ride special, particularly for little kids, because they can get really into where they're going. And then on the way back, maybe have the conversation of what was your favorite park? What was your favorite attraction? Generate that type of conversation in the car. We used to do this type of thing all the time. Now my folks kind of fall asleep and just wait to arrive back in Atlanta. Oh, yeah. And we have that conversation, you know, later on in the day or the next day. But this is a good conversation to have while you're driving back in your car to keep folks really engaged. So I hope that you learned something today, been able to pull something from the podcast. It was our pleasure to sit and hang out with you and talk to you. And if you do have questions, you can always email me at kelly@mydisneybrain.com, or you can just leave a question on the Facebook page. I am going to put information for Imani's podcast also on our Facebook page, here, there, anywhere. And I'd like for you to go out and follow her also, because we realized that you are going to other places in the world other than places that have Disney parks. Yeah. And so she'll be able to help with that, be able to give you some traveling tips. And of the places that she's gone, she's done some really, really good reviews. There's some great footage up of hotels and different landmarks, particularly in Paris and Italy and Rome and places like that. That she went last year, that I think if you're planning to go there, that you will, you know, obviously when things are better,
When things are better.
When things are better, that you will find very informative and helpful in your planning. So anything else, Imani, that you wanted to say?
No. Oh, for your car ride or your plane ride, I know it helps us to get a 20-pound bag of regular Twizzlers. They last you the entire trip.
Yeah, I said snacks, but I didn't go into specific snacks. The group of mine, I because everybody has their, over the years, what you'll figure out is, just like you figure out what kids eat vegetables and what kids don't, and what kids eat meat, whatever, you find out the snacks that they like. So when I go out to Gas Up, where we live, right across the street is a Family Dollar, and I usually stop, grab all of everybody's. It's kind of like going to the movies. You know when you sneak movie candy in because you don't want to pay $100 for the same candy that costs $1 at the dollar store. We go and we snack up at the Family Dollar, and it usually always includes a huge, 20-gallon bag of Twizzlers, which, mind you, I don't know if it makes it. I think it makes it there, but it certainly never makes it back. So,
no, it doesn't make it back. But
yeah.
No, this was fun. I can't wait to come back and maybe do it again. Maybe we can do another episode about being grown-ups at Disney World. Because, I don't have no kids. So whenever I go, I'm a grown-up.
Okay. Right.
But this was fun. Remember to follow us on Instagram, on YouTube, on TripAdvisor at HT Anywhere, or sign up for our email list at our website at htanywhere.com. And have a magical day.
Yeah, guys. Continue to follow us and come back and listen. We're going to be posting the podcast every week. Facebook, Instagram, we're trying to get some stuff up every day. I think there's some news coming from Disney, and maybe there'll be some timelines and things like that coming out soon. Florida, for example, did start its grand opening back at 25%.
Yeah.
I do know that Character Warehouse and Disney stores are not included in that, or at least have not been open based on the information I've seen so far. But the next stage, keep your fingers crossed, and who knows. Disney Springs, I am hearing, is going to be the flagship for reopening. It's going to be how they measure, their new processes and protocols, and how they determine how to open the parks. So that part I do know. I just don't know when it is going to happen. So again, thanks for hanging around with us. Hope you've learned something. Continue to be safe and do safe things. And we'll talk to you next time. Thanks.